In his just concluded address to the nation, the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has urged changes in approach to intelligence gathering in the fight against insecurity, but with the UPDF knee-deep into DRC and ADF morphing into smaller splinter groups to cause terror. Will this strategy succeed? Tonight on the spot is Rtd Maj Awich Pollar, a retired army officer of the UPDF, and Kiwanuka Abdallah, an MP and member of the Defense Committee. Welcome to On the Spot. Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka and Major Pollar Awich. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having honored our invitation. A warm welcome to both of you.
We are equally honored to be hosted here.
Good evening and good evening to the viewers.
Let me begin with you, Abdallah, because you sit on the Defense Committee of Parliament. You are the civilian authority for which the army is supposed to be subordinate to. The wave of insecurity that has happened, you've listened to the Commander-in-Chief give a speech, and what do you make of the President's speech, first of all? And whether you think it's going to go for so much in trying to fight insecurity in our country?
Equally, allow me to add that I'm the Shadow Minister, Internal Affairs. I have ably heard the statement of the President. To me, a lot has been left desiring. A lot has not been touched. We have been waiting for a touching statement, which to me has a lot has been left out. The President, it is surprising that he has deliberately left out the constant warnings by the superpowers in this world, because wherever we are attacked, we first receive warnings. Now we have been left hanging, whether he's depending on his own preparedness or our own security. Every Ugandan should stay in bed, nothing to worry about. He's calling these people small people who are left out, but these are people who are injuring us. To kill over 30 innocent Ugandans, it is not something to joke around with.
So Abdullah, I think you're making reference to the warnings by the United States and the UK, of a possible terror attack in Uganda, that people should be on the alert.
Has the President mentioned about it? Because if Ugandans have been following, wherever we have been attacked, at any moment when we have been including these bombs which were at Parliament and CPS, we have been receiving these warnings. The President has completely remained silent about those warnings, and the reason we don't know. Of course, the usual statements about Chidawalima and what have you, I don't want to go into that. But he has equally left out something which is so much crucial about he has mentioned it in the other way around about our intelligence, about the intelligence, because he has mentioned about three things: the strong army, the intelligence, and the diplomacy. Something which should be asked by many Ugandans, because this is UPDF, is there a political question which needs to be settled? ADF, why are they fighting? Why are they not fighting in Tanzania? Why are they not fighting in Kenya? Why are they not fighting in Rwanda? But they are fighting while attacking Uganda. Is there a political question which needs to be solved? Of course, they have been branded to be terrorists. Somebody will tell you that these are terrorists. At the same time, Ugandans should know that also LRA were branded, and the international community concluded that these are terrorists. But you remember at a certain moment, President Museveni and his regime, however, sat and agreed on some few issues with the LRA and CONI, using now the Justice Minister, who is Norbert Mao. He sat with them because there was some political questions which had to be resolved. The President is on record having sat with Moses Sali, who was at war with this regime, and they resolved Moses is going to die a minister. The president is on record having sat with the Juma Oris, and many things were resolved, and they integrated the army into the UPDF. What is that reason the president can give Ugandans that in the last 23 years he has been fighting ADF? He can't sit with them to resolve that political question. Because somebody can ask, why are they fighting? And only fighting Uganda. Is it only to kill? And why, if they are the ones if they are the ones killing Ugandans, what are they fighting for?
But you know, the lead of ADF, the real lead of ADF, is in jail in Uganda. You know, here. And the current, the second in command, who is in the bush, Musa Baluku, is a person who has not come out even to state their political views about the country. They seem to have taken a certain ideology that is related to faith, and they have attacked soft targets. What do you do to people who have not even attacked the military, who have gone for soft targets, for children, for women, for mutilating people? If those images that the president was showing were anything to go by, what kind of political inclination do you think they are? What kind of discussion are you going to have with the people who have attacked hacked unarmed Congolese nationals?
My brother Kamara, you are aware, you are not new in this country. The same atrocities which are alleged to have been committed by ADF were committed by Kony. It is on record. They were committed by Kony. They used to mutilate women, to mutilate men, killing children, and taking attacking Aboke girls. You remember all those atrocities which were committed. But still, he went ahead and he sat with them. Much as that is what they are doing, you have been fighting terrorists. Let me call terrorists. Jamil
Mukulu, who is in prison in Uganda, should have actually made it known that these are the things I'm fighting for if he accepted that he's fighting the government of Uganda. Musa Baluku should have come out to say, these are my ideas, this is what I think of Uganda, instead of attacking innocent and armed Ugandans and Congolese. But let me turn to the Major Pollar Awich, retired Major Pollar Awich, a former soldier of the UPDF, a former Kadogo, sometimes command of the Kadogos. You know, I mean, how time runs. The other day you had the command of the Kadogos. The former Kadogo. Thank you so much.
Must have joined at 23 or 25 around.
No, don't be deceived by the silver looking on the head. You know, the UPDF was revered in Africa as a fighting unit, almost with the capacity of invisibility, or to be invisible. It could send tremors in the spine of an enemy. Is the UPDF still having that fighting capacity?
Yes, the UPDF has that fighting capacity, but let me comment about what Honorable says before I answer that. First is about the issue of warning. Warning by what he calls superpowers is regarded in the context of sovereignty of a state. Uganda is a sovereign state and therefore has its methods of security handling. Article 219 of the Constitution is the supreme provision of security in Uganda. It provides for what is called the National Security Council. And as you know, under a constitutional provision, there's a need for an act of parliament, a member of parliament, which operationalizes that provision. And that provision is operationalized by an act of parliament called the National Security Council Act. And therefore, systems are in place. Now, warnings by what you call superpowers are actually warning by states to their nationals. They actually don't warn Uganda as such. If you see the nature of the text says America are warning their nationals in Uganda not to do this, to avoid this, to avoid this. But of course we take it to say, since they are warning their nationals, then the threat is in Uganda. But note that there's a system in place for what you call joint anti-terrorism, JAT. And we link up as a country to some of this information. So by the time this information comes to the public, it is institutionally received and consumed by agents of the state. And therefore, even if you don't hear Uganda talk about it, it is within the means and consumption of the state. So whether Museveni doesn't need to even sound a warning to Ugandans if you wanted it in his speech, because he has addressed it holistically. He has addressed the state holistically. So unless he wanted one single statement to say, I've warned you, or I'm warning you. But these warnings are warning by state.
You know, what Abdallah is saying is that every time there has been a threat from the United States and maybe the UK about a possible terror attack in Uganda, actually it happens.
Yes, it happens.
So
that's what I'm saying. Yes. It happens, and I'm saying the context in which their warning comes. So I wondered what Honorable wanted Museveni to include in his speech. To include in his speech, because his point is he did not say it in the address. So did he want to say, we thank the Americans for the warning?
He's also saying we're ready for any eventuality.
So did he want to, how could it have been captured in the address today? That we thank them for warning us? So I think we should understand the warning in that context. So the other thing I wanted to say is that the issue of peace talks, you see, if we start to argue like that, we are actually falling in the trap of the enemy. In other words, that is what they want to force us to believe. That please, we shall attack the children, we shall do this, then we shall hear voices which are talking in our favor. So they would have scored, if that is what you're saying, they would have scored, because that is their objective. Let us
killing of innocent people,
so that we
bring
make you
the government on a negotiating table.
Yes, you make it, so you are talking actually their language. And I think we should talk this from that perspective, that is my voice meaning, therefore, is it by accident that I'm forming an opinion, forming their target, their objective actually. Let us do this, and then they will, or people will say that.
Major Awich, you have the UPDF deployed in Congo with the understanding of the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. When they deploy, that's when we saw them, ADF, coming in the rear flank, coming into Ntoroko. Well, thank God the Ntoroko group was decimated. But in Nyabugando, more than 30 children killed.
Yes.
When you have your men and women and your assets in the Congo, what explains that?
Yes, I was replying to is that I'm finished to reply that. But I want to answer your next question of UPDF was a mighty, is it still as strong? And then I will join up with this question. UPDF was mighty. I've been in it, as the Honorable seem to have doubted, for as long as it has been. That strength from NRA has continued. And by the way, the original strength of NRA, which transformed itself under the constitution to UPDF, the strength actually laid in the clear ideology, the clear principle of the army, the pro-peopleness, the clear line, even without the military structure. Now, that clarity has continued to exist even in the person of the commander-in-chief, and all clarity is insisted in the growth of NRA UPDF. Now, this strength was even developed further by the acquisition of training, by the acquisition of equipment, and by the acquisition of expansion in number. So we are not like we were in 86. In 1986, we could win war, and we won war, and we captured power in 86. But that strength has been continued. So to answer your question, the strength has continued to grow and grow. Now, on the question of deploying and having rebels cross in, you hear the president saying the area that they crossed is 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers is crossable, and it can omit any vigilancy. First of all, it was a mistake. But as you can see, it is a gap and a porous areas that you cannot really say we have deployed in Congo and therefore they can't. In any case, it is a tactics. If you put pressure there, the tactics is to divert you, so you come back in the rear and hit something so that you are diverted.
How can the units that are on the borderline be in a kind of a stand-down kind of arrangement, atmosphere, when you know that just across the border you have the enemies? I mean, what explains? Aname is supposed to be on the alert. Aname is Aname. There's no way how you can say we are at peace and somehow you relax, because that is what he seems to have said. So that relaxation takes away the combat readiness that we always knew of the UPDF and the other security agencies, because Mpondwe, where this happened, is more or less like a garrison town. You have soldiers everywhere. You have the police everywhere. And in proximity to where the students were.
As I already said, that the incident that happened was a deliberate tactical approach by the enemy to draw attention from the pressure that they have. And it is unfortunate it happened. But whatever blame now that we have, whatever mishandling that it occurred, I mean, I think it is now beyond discussion. What is true is that we all saw it happen, and these are some of the lapses that you tie, but you don't have watertight or even airtight. You can try to make airtight or watertight, but it still has the lapses. But this, as the president said, is not to show any breakdown or any weakness on the security system of Uganda or on UPDF.
Honorable Abdallah, there is, to be able to fight a war, you also need to fight it with the people. You need to know the social and the terrain intelligence, and the people must be with you. Do you think somehow the army and the police and everybody who's involved in the security agencies of Uganda are losing their touch in terms of dealing with the people so that they can be your eyes and ears on the ground? You get to know what is going on, because without intelligence, you cannot win a war.
Of course, first of all, I need to bring it forward to all our viewers. Why me, you, and him, we are paying taxes is to be at peace, because you are aware we pay taxes to be in position to get security, so that our men in uniform can be accommodated well, can be paid well. That is the primary reason as to why we pay taxes. In that regard, when I talk about men in uniform, it goes hand in hand with all the security agencies, the CMY, the ISO, the DISO, the GISO, the FISO, VISO, the PISO, name it. He's aware, he may not mention. And even on this issue, the president was silent. Much as he has gone to an extent of saying that, no, I have just told my people within 3 weeks. This is an incident which happened more than I think a month now. That I have now just told my in charge at police in State House to go and investigate about these police officers. What were they doing? Why did they take long to dress up? In the same vicinity, in the same area, within the same proximity, there is a UPDF battalion within a period of 1 kilometer. He has not mentioned about that. Why did they take long to respond? The people who are supposed to be alert all the time. What about, what is the work of, before you engage me? Because these very people are the ones who detect us when we are going to make rallies, political rallies. And they inform the necessary agencies. They rise up in arms to go and frustrate us. What is the role of CMI, ISO, DISO, VISO, GISO, DISO in Ibundibujo and Kasese areas? What were they doing, and what report did they do before you start engaging me? Yes, security has to work hand in hand with me, but what do we have such agencies in that area, and what reports did they come up with? Most especially after the warning, because he's trying to run away from it, trying to say that maybe they are Alpha and Omega. But you see, in Uganda here.
No, you ask your question. How should he have captured the warning in his speech? Because I think that's a legitimate question. He's telling you, he's preparing the country for readiness, combat readiness. He's telling Uganda to be vigilant. How else should he have captured this element of the warnings in his speech, in your view?
In my view, he could even say that much as the Americans warned us, we were already alert about that, even recently.
But he has spent a lot of time talking about the importance of alertness.
But of course he's not. Are you hearing him for the first time mentioning about that? What I was trying to tell him, and to tell our viewers and the nation at large, in Uganda here we have a saying, if I can easily translate it, that when the rich man is talking or advising his son, a rich man, you, a son of the poor, you must be attentively listening. I can easily translate it. When you hear Americans being warned, you are aware because you don't have to play double standards. When it comes to loans and what have you, when you want to take your children and health care, you run there. When it comes to security warnings and what have you, just want to stay back. That is playing double standards. Those people are ahead of you. So when you hear them warning their citizens, you don't have to take that warning for granted. Recently, after that warning of UK, honestly, I had to go around town as a shadow minister to see whether there is any change. I only witnessed it at Chikubo when they had manned these screen metal detectors. That is why maybe I found it. In other places, tax parks, things are normal. Nothing is taking. So
do you want the tax park to be under lockdown of some sort? Do you want a soldier to every human being downtown?
Not that.
Yeah, but some rudeness can be subtle. Some rudeness can be covert.
You see, even by now, if the numbers, you feel the numbers, those who we lost in Kasese, at least to me, it is, I feel more threatened. But if you were threatened, by now even the announcements over the TV, when you see the polythene bags near you, when you see bags as it used to be, then after 2010, because those adverts used to run everywhere on the radio, on the TVs, but here the situation is normal, as if we are. That's why I expected the president not concentrating so much about that, because in Parliament we have raised several questions for the Minister of Defense to explain to us. Is there anything? Are we at war? Are we in the situation? What is happening about the security situation in the country? People are being attacked day and night. Mobile money traders and traders in goods, supermarkets, they are being attacked. During the, yet we have security
let me come
officials.
to Rtd Maj Awich. The truth is what Abdallah is rising, that there's a lot of gun violence in Uganda and people are being attacked. We have seen some of them captured on CCTV, people being attacked in broad daylight, sometimes shot dead. There's heightened degree of insecurity and gun violence, and that makes Ugandans uneasy.
Gun violence prevails nearly everywhere, but we are not praising it in Uganda either. South Africa itself, South Africa has the highest rate of gun violence in Africa. United States has a very high level of gun violence. We all know it every other day. What therefore is Uganda's approach to this? He has mentioned the security network and the apparatus. And I've also mentioned including institutional governance, including legal framework. What is happening here is that there was, you remember, an attempt to label and mark guns so that we know each and every place where there's a rifle. But still, that attempt didn't produce fruits because we have had porous borders. Along the Kenya-Uganda border, along the Sudan border, all these guns, you can't control them. Somehow they get themselves in any part of the country. But continuous methods are devised. Both at the district level, for example, at a district, we have a chairman of the district security committee. They have the mandate to devise means. Of course, others go way out of enthusiasm or overzealousness. You heard the president mention of an RDC who imposed something similar to a curfew, banning that. So all these attempts at local level to ensure that these securities are combated. At the national level, attempts are made for deployment of police and systems are in place. So we are not saying that because South Africa leads in gun violence and America, attempts and processes are here to do this, to guard against it. By the way, we have moved at least from state-inspired violence to criminality. Because in the past, we used to have state-inspired, either a section or a platoon would go and loot, okay, and raid, or even at roadblocks. So at least we have moved from gun violence used by the
You
state.
seem not to really have known that the Ugandans who have been abducted and taken in drones and, you know, arrested in areas that are not gazetted places of detention have come back telling of gory stories of what has happened. Some of them,
including
I think we are
UPDF and
mixing
police
two
participating
things.
in the very action.
I think we are mixing two things.
No,
we were talking of criminality of violence, shooting and killing. Now, if you want us to move to the next agenda item, which is what you call, which people have called violations, in terms of either violations of, in terms of arrest, we can discuss that.
You remember what happened in the same area? You remember what happened in 2016 in Kasese, where almost 100 people were killed?
Yes.
By guns that are bought by taxpayers, and guns that are supposed to be keeping them and protecting them.
I now find that is the third item now.
Yeah, but that is the third item. The state was having guns.
But still, I want to conclude on the issue of criminality in guns, to the extent that I first started by giving examples of states and countries, so that we are not an island. Two, I explained the porousness of the borders. Kenya,
Does the president mention anything about the porous?
It seems you
yes,
really...
Yes, he did. He said among the top of South Sudan.
He mentioned indeed. So now, I am saying that agenda item is an item that we have not done badly. Remember that for us as a party, even part of our winning the votes, we pride in people sleep.
Okay.
So we have not done
your point there. I'm going to ask you, Abdallah, before we take a break very quickly, because they prayed in working with the people and the people saying they can sleep. But do you believe that the UPDF or the NRA of then is still so much in touch with the people so that they can be able to get credible intelligence in time? Because intelligence really is what you need if you're going to win a battle or later or even a war. I'm
closely monitoring and I'm closely in touch with what is happening down there. Any person who is maybe not in touch will definitely give a different answer. But you can no longer sleep fully.
Halfway.
You sleep while another ear is on the door.
Is that so?
Even when you ask him, I don't know where you sleep, if you are honest. You can no longer go at your home when it is not surrounded by a fence. And in addition to that, with an askari, maybe a private guard or a police officer. And these are people who are supposed to be guarding the general public. They have been centered to guard the big wings in NRM, in government, with MPs. And some MPs, even personally, I have been forced because in one way or the other, because everyone has been infiltrated. In one way or the other, I get to be forced to hire a private guard.
Haven't you heard of guards killing their bosses?
And what is the cause of all that? Because once you can be praising yourself that maybe people are sleeping. For you, you might be sleeping because you have you have security guards at home. But people, they are no longer sleeping. And there is no way they can now be proud that maybe we are sleeping, we are enjoying. Police and army, they are participating in actually grabbing their own properties. You go in Mukono there. Many lands have been grabbed by big people in the government, and the security which is provided there is UPDF and police. So how can we get proud of only just go on ground and witness? We can make a full program over that as an internal affairs minister. We make an overview over that and take you to various parcels of land, from Mukono to Bugerere to Uyikwe, and you see what is happening on ground. Recently, they charged the assistant DPC, RPC in Kampala North, who participated in the murder of a lawyer. You know, you are aware about that. He
had part of those allegations. Those are still allegations.
But the gun which participated in that, yes, it is allegation because it is still in court. Yeah. But I'm telling you, I'm trying to point what is happening, to paint a picture about what is happening in the country. Okay, and those are the very few incidents which are happening.
Abdallah Kiwanuka, member of the Defense Committee of Parliament and the Shadow Minister of Internal Affairs, and retired Major Pollar, which gentlemen are going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guests tonight are Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, member of the Defense Committee of Parliament and the Shadow Minister of Internal Affairs, and we have Rtd Maj Awich, and we're trying to go through the presidential speech that has just ended a couple of minutes back. He was addressing the nation on matters of security. You know, the Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka is showing you that there are areas that actually could cause insecurity. Ugandans seem to be on tenterhooks because of land issues and stuff like that, and those things are true. And it's not only in the areas of Buganda and Busoga you talked about, it even goes to your area in northern Uganda if you go to areas of Noya and other places. Those pockets can look at individual, maybe mine at some point, but it can result into something big that can cause insecurity, can't they?
They can do that, but I think he brought it in the perspective when he was replying to my differentiation of state-inspired vis-a-vis criminal acts of, say, officers involved. And I think here you can only judge us. By the way, I'm a director at the ruling party.
Okay.
So when I say us, I mean the ruling party, because we have the contract with the people through our manifesto from 2021 up to 2026. So in the manifesto, we promise people to sleep, because that manifesto encompasses everything, as you are aware, whether agriculture, education, or whatever. So the execution of that is done by government. Therefore, I am saying that act of individual indiscipline, which often occurs, you can only judge us by the response thereto. Initially in NRA, we were even much harsher, in a sense that those offenses were punishable not only by death, but death by firing squad. So you can judge a state or you can judge a government by the response. Otherwise, you cannot control individual behaviors of every officer or man, because these officers are recruited from the society. So judge from the response, and that is when you can see that this is state-inspired or not. Because when it is state-inspired, you can see the actors are from the state and there's no response. In fact, we have been blamed in the NRA Act, which I think is now the Defense Act, UPDF Act, for having so many provisions of death penalty. All this was a genesis from the National Resistance Army, which had its strict code of conduct to penalize officers and men who do this, including rape or acquiring property, getting property from others. So the judgment of the action can be only judged by the response.
After which, with all respect, you seem to have lost touch with the realities of Uganda. I only want to, bring for you some cases that have happened on, in front of cameras before the world, where the UPDF also sometimes lost it. You remember a gentleman called Akena, whom we should know, that on the streets of Kampala, they rained down on him, just because he was taking pictures as a journalist. That was captured. I'm sure you must have seen that, and I'm sure you're not even happy about things like those.
No, I can give you many other examples. And to show you that I am actually have not lost touch, and the government as such, the more the sophistication, the more the state and government has been. For example, even the enactment of a law which says, should you go for an operation and violate a person's act, you no longer now have the usual defense of Attorney General, that have gone for this operation, have broken the leg of Akena, and therefore sue Attorney General because I was doing work. This shows, and these are recent enactment, this shows that there's no loss with the ground, because changes and sophistications that come, you tighten up with more sophistication legislation.
With personal liability.
Legislation which are not there. Yeah, this were legislation which were not there.
Personal liability has its own disadvantages, of course.
Yes,
when it comes
but you can see that is a new legislation.
Of compensation. What is a corporal, a warrant officer class 1 who has cracked somebody's skull in terms of compensation if he has done so damage? What can he do?
That is what I'm saying, that as nature of infringement and offenses get sophisticated, we also tighten the nut. tightening the knot, for example, introducing new laws to keep us abreast with the new development and sophistication of that. That shows that we have not lost the ground.
I want to go back, Maj Pollar, to the issue of the Democratic Republic of Congo, because we have deployed our men and women there, our assets, some of our best, I think. But even after that deployment, that's when we see we are losing Ugandans and Congolese. So in the last couple of months, when we are there, what are the exact dividends of us going there? And we are going there at a cost, colossal sums of money paid by the Ugandan government, Ugandan taxpayers. So what do you tell the parents of the children of Nyabugando? That we are in the Congo, but this is what is happening.
The dividends, the president tried to explain it. The dividends, the president explained to you the destruction of the camps. The dividends, the president showed you the ADF who were killed. Because if we were not there and left them to train and expand and do whatever, the harm tomorrow would have been more than what you have seen. And of course, we have gone back and back on the issue of the attack in Uganda, in that much as you intensify operation there, it is because they're also human beings, they have brains. So the tactical diversion occurs in this. So let's keep in 2 kilometers, as you heard the president say, we do this thing and we divert attention. But practically the dividends that you have asked about, the president illustrated in photos. As
a soldier, you would expect there could be some tactical operation to divert you. That would be expected.
You do.
Yeah, and because wars sometimes are won by deception and all those tactics. That you would expect.
You are expected to stand for, to take care about it, and that's why we always have rare deployment.
Yeah, what was
that
the rare?
Is why we always have rare deployment.
So how can the rear guard be caught so flat-footed?
It has occurred. They have penetrated.
So, by the way, as the third arm of government, as a member of the Defense Committee, I wonder what Parliament has taken, or you, a committee of Parliament on defense, has made of this, and what recommendations have you made, and also what questions have you been asking the state, because that's your role.
First of all, you are aware, I'm aware, our army in Congo has continued to be there illegally. It is so painful. It's like dying on not on a course of duty. You put on a uniform, but you end up dying somewhere, not in any way related to your work. The excuse which was earlier on advanced was that this was an emergency. Had we failed to attack these people, they would have organized and maybe attack us. Maybe in the early months it was excusable. It is more than a year down the road. This issue has never been sanctioned by Parliament. Actually, personally, I pushed it hard in this expiring budget, which has just ended, that this budget, which had been appropriated to go to facilitate our men in uniform in Congo, should never be touched until when the minister brings a statement on the floor of Parliament seeking its approval. The money was spent. I tried to raise that issue. Of course, you know how the Parliament operates. You keep on standing, bringing this issue left, right, and center. I expect the president to start on that. We started on this war. We entered Congo on this note, but currently we are at this point.
So if there's total disregard of Parliament by the executive, and if they can deploy outside the country and they haven't told you, but you even go ahead and appropriate money to them, what does that say of your Parliament? What you say?
Of course, it is not only Parliament. Among the many factors where President Museveni has succeeded in is to kill the proper operations, not of only Parliament, but also the judiciary and all other agencies, because all the time you find his hand having penetrated inside in several instances, not only in Parliament, where he normally calls the MPs, please do this and this. Under normal circumstances, that is not supposed to happen. You remember when we were about to go into the Chagulanyi hearing of the presidential petition, where the CJ went and started meeting the president at that crucial time, when you know that the whole world is watching you. And so now you see sometimes when we were on the Yoweri Kaguta Day, so you see sometimes, Mr. President, many of these people, they don't know that when I'm about to decide some cases, we interact and we have a chat. He ended up receiving comments from the president, directives. This is normally the president calls them executive directives. You make the bail terms. What ended up being crafted by CJ, now which are being followed by the magistrate and chief justices. So, what Mr. Museveni has succeeded in is to kill the proper operations of not only parliament, but also other agencies. But much as you can fight, because this is supposed to be an independent institution, like the Electoral Commission is supposed to be an independent institution, like IGG is supposed to be an independent institution, but you have several been hearing what the president's directives are to the IGG. Don't do this, don't go to this extent, don't do apply such a method. He's normally, and he's working scot-free. So it is not only in parliament. What I'm trying to bring in, we are trying our best to regain this independence. But you must know that in the parliament which we are running, the president normally is proud of the numbers. You remember one time when he went to Usoga, and he told the voters there that don't worry, even if you vote the one who is always sleeping, I will wake him up and he vote NRM and the country moves on. If we are still in such a country, and the head of state is the one making such statements, we are in a very big dilemma.
But isn't that, Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, expected? Because you are in the contestation for power. They have won power. They have make sure they retain the power and retain with the people. And if they use their numbers, that's the advantage.
You retain with the standards. You retain power with the standards, not with the impunity. Because this is what they are doing. Of course, at one point, it is going to come to an end. But it is going to be disastrous, not only to him, but this country may fall on you and on me.
Okay, let me go back as we expand the issue of security, go back to the Congo, because Congo is such a vast country. Even if you put in 1 million soldiers, they can get lost in the Congo, believe me that. But, you know, have we devastated or decimated ADF's capacity to wage war? And it's not only ADF, by the way, in the Congo. You have Codeco, you have all this kind of stuff. Kinshasa, which is supposed to be in control of Eastern Congo, is like 2,000 kilometers away. Whatever happens in the areas of Malika Valley, in Mbandaka, and wherever we are, is more of a headache for Kampala than is a headache for Kinshasa. Because for them, they have a geographical depth. It doesn't affect them. So even if we get out now, they can still regroup and fight, or any other force can come because of the vast nature and the lack of government in Eastern Congo. It will continue to be a problem.
Yes, I think that is handled in a wider perspective of government. Lately, I've been with the Minister of Foreign Affairs abroad, and I came to discover in his explanation the regional approach by Uganda, our wishes and our actions. So, true, there's a lot of security vacuum in Congo. And that's why we have continuously, with their consent, continued to be there. So, but Uganda approach is that we had wanted to have the situation handled through East African community. And I am sure you, over the time, you saw Kenya, the Kenyan army, and all other armies in East Africa as agreed. So we thought that instead of having it a Ugandan affair, and they say we have other interests other than security, we said then let it be an East African affair. And the process was set in. But you also saw the challenges that went with it. Uganda tries to do it in a bilateral relation, a bilateral meaning between Uganda and Congo, to have consent that would be there. Now, to the extent of incapacitating it. The president showed it in photos and in videos. But remember that the area is vast, as you say. Even if 3 or 4 rebels they escape, they can still build. So a system should be done to permanently get a solution by way of combat. But now that we have the capacity, both intelligence, human and technological, I think we have a brighter future.
But you also know, Major Awich, that there is a time when Congolese nationals were demonstrating in Goma and they don't want Ugandan and against Uganda and against Rwanda. But you also know there are voices when from Kinshasa that were telling Ugandans and on the East African Brigade to get out of Congo. And you also know that President Tshisekedi has invited in other armies, including Angola, to come into the Congo. Congo could become a powder keg.
There's a mix there, of course, as you know, because of mutual mistrust and suspicion. People, the Congolese themselves seem not to understand our version vis-a-vis the version of Rwanda. Rwanda can speak for themselves, but at least I can speak for ourselves. Us, as Uganda and as the government, is that we are interested in having peace. We are not interested in occupying any geographical territory of Congo. We are not interested in any other material interest in Congo. All we are interested in is that wrong elements don't come from Congo. And if there's any misunderstanding there too, I think there are institutions to clear it. We have Great Lakes region as an institution. We have East African community, but we also have bilaterals. So those misunderstandings that come up, either fueled by some politicians or otherwise, will always be there. But if they are there, as I said in the case of judging us, how do you judge us? Are there institutional framework to explain it? And I think that one was explained, because right now we don't have it.
But you know, we have a precedent, Major Awich, of us going in the Congo. We have been accused of plundering and pillaging and killing and destroying the Congo state. They took us to the International Court of Justice. We lost the case. We are actually even paying them money. In fact, the looting was not done on behalf of Ugandans. I'm sure your colleagues in the UPDF who did it, they never was looted on behalf of Uganda. But you know what has happened? Ugandans have paid.
We are still paying.
We are paying for the sins of individual soldiers in the Congo.
Yes, as you said, it was an accusation. It was a claim made in courts of law.
We lost the case.
We lost it. But I don't want to go into the merits of the loss. Actually, in my opinion as a lawyer, the loss of that case was not because we are culpable, was not because we are guilty. I think it was a procedural aspect. And I think if there's no appeal done to that extent,
no,
then
we are paying. The final thing is that what I know, whoever was pillaging the Congo was not pillaging for the Ugandan state.
Also, you remember,
they were not pillaging for Uganda.
But you remember also there were aspect. Procedural aspect, for example, you don't defend your case, or you even come late for your case, and then your case is dismissed on that ground.
On a technicality.
Yeah,
and you don't apply to reinstate it.
It's really not the findings of the court. Not the findings of the court. But you remember also that there are various commissions, the Potter report and all this. Some reports said we didn't loot. But anyway, as it is, unless we appeal against
what I know that the Ugandan state is paying.
Yes,
the Congolese,
that's
what I'm saying.
As long as
there's a court ruling, the president on his own admission,
and whoever stole,
and the president on his own admission admitted having got only one stick. Yes,
I think that was even before the case. Anyhow, what I'm saying is, whatever misunderstandings that happens, especially in relation to Kinshasa, we have institutional frameworks to make sure we understand.
Honorable Abdallah, doesn't it scare you to know that the UPDF deployed in the Congo without doing the constitutional obligation of coming to inform Parliament, and yet there's a precedent that when they first went, we have a case to answer? And let alone, by the way, we went with a brigade and came back with another brigade of women and children. I don't know whether some of those things are going to come back.
It worries me, not only as a responsible citizen, but those people who are deployed there, they are your brothers, they are your sisters. I was giving you a scenario of what can happen when you die on a wrong side of your deployment. He was talking about the procedural aspect. Because if at all time can come, you remember as you were bringing it out clearly, that honestly, we were chased, by the way, the Congolese are saying they only need a Kenyan army there. And Tanzania, as far as Ugandan army is concerned, they don't need it there. So, in a situation where your brother dies in a wrong deployment, what happens to such a compensation? Especially when we have brought it to your attention that you are in a wrong deployment. Any person who dies on such an assignment, how is he going to be handled? It is not like the way it was handled in Somalia, despite the questions surrounding it and what have you. And you were asking me what happens. For example, if we at all we went and we were targeting the ADF, I was seeing the video of the president which he was showing. It was for November 2021. People can assume that this is a current video. November 2021, okay, after that attack, you smashed them as you wanted. You destroyed them. They were not prepared. We expected you to be back and guard, because that is the primary duty of our forces, is to guard the borders and to guard Ugandans. If at all we can call our forces back from Congo, we call our forces back from Central African Republic, we call our forces back from South Sudan, and our forces back from Somalia, I think we can get some peace.
Honorable Major Pollar, I want to link up this question to what the Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka has said, that there hasn't been anybody to come to Parliament and explain the deployment in Congo. And you know, you're a lawyer and you understand the rule of law. What does that say about the democratic nature and the rule of law of Uganda, you know, and to be obedient to civilian authority? That alone shows you there's some kind of impunity. How, I mean, we can understand you want to have an element of surprise and a preemptive strike, yes, but it is a time within which you should be able to come and Parliament and address and say, this is what we did, according to the member of the Defense Committee. That was never done. What do you make of that?
Of course, that's what I make of it. But let me just say something about compensation. Because that compensation, the troops are watching this show, it can be misleading and demoralizing. Compensation, in this case, deployed in Congo, shouldn't be a worry for any soldier. First of all, remember that the Workers' Compensation Act is not applicable to the army. Okay, the act of the Workers' Compensation Act, there's a provision which says this law is not applicable to armed forces. But however, there's the handling of death in the army. And these people are lawfully deployed by the army. If they are deployed themselves, is when you'd be worried about handling of death matters.
What does the law say about deployment?
Out of the country.
No, that is a question you ask. But I first wanted to handle whether or not a soldier who dies in Congo in this circumstance will not get, the family will not get death benefits. The family will get death benefits. As if that soldier died in Bugiri, as if that soldier died in Kakiri, or died in Gulu. That is the assurance I want to make. I want to make it clear that it is not, it is inconsequential. Their death benefits. It's as if they died, because he did not deploy himself. I just wanted that clear. Now, on the matter of bringing the thing to Parliament, all I know is that UPDF and Ministry of Defense is law-abiding. They have done it before. The rules of Parliament are clear, and the Constitution there too, and they have been obedient to rules of Parliament, including appearing before several committees. I'm sure they have appeared before your committee many times. Now, why they have not brought this, as it says, is a case-by-case situation. We need to ask the facts. At least there should be a facts. I need to find out. But this is not to say we are not we are not subordinate to, or we have not had the practice to obey to the rules of Parliament, We have not had the opportunity to appear to present our budget. We present the budget of defense very religiously. We respond to Auditor General queries.
No, but
we do all this. Now, this particular
he's a shadow minister of internal affairs.
Yes, and
he's a member of the defense committee.
And he's not saying they have not appeared before him, haven't they?
Have they?
They appear and they always
they always appear before him.
To say, please,
yeah,
we need a statement on the motion of the Parliament. That is why I'm saying
this particular one is a fact that needs to be found out. But I'm sure it's also a procedural matter. But I'm saying a non-presentation on this agenda item does not warrant to say that the army is being contemptuous or the army is insubordinate to civil authority as put in the constitution. No.
What is required of the army when they are deploying outside of the country?
Of course, you know, the law provides
in dealing with the parliament.
The law provides that the parliament should be informed. Yeah, and the law provides that in the event of emergency, there's a specific time beyond the deployment that you should inform parliament. And that's what we're questioning. And that's why I'm saying this has not happened, but it's a fact.
When it does not happen, what does that tell you? It should be found
on a fact of its own. What are the circumstances? So it's not enough here to draw a conclusion. But I wanted it differentiated, this single act, to be differentiated from the holistic disciplinary system of the army and of the Ministry of Defense and our abidance to the rule of law.
Gentlemen, hold on to your points because you're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'll open the lines and also read your comments and questions that you're sending on our different social media platforms, and please send them. And in case you have a disagreement with any one of us here, that's understandable, it's an edge of debate, but please remember to disagree with respect. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, member of the Defense Committee in Parliament and also Shadow Minister of Internal Affairs. We also have Rtd Maj Awich Pollar, and we are going through the pros and cons of the President's speech to the nation on matters of security that just happened about an hour ago. So, but moving forward, does this? It appears it doesn't give you confidence to walk without you looking behind your shoulders that all is well. However, you need to give it to the President and to the NRM government in terms of handling security for real, because for people to be able to hold the country together for 40 years, it's not a small achievement, is it? And considering the region in which we are.
It could be true. It could be true. But also it can go with some luck. Yes.
Are you sure?
Gaddafi, I can start with maybe the person who came later than President Museveni, who is Bashir. He was mentioning about Bashir, how we used to disturb him by fanning Konya and what have you. He also survived in power for some good time. But what took him was not even through a gun, but it was a civil disobedience. The person who funded President Museveni up to the last hour, Gaddafi, when he was being fought, he failed even to put an aeroplane, one up in the skies. He failed. He had all the ammunitions and what have you, but he failed even to touch on one of them. So Mr. Museveni, for quite some time, we must praise him for what he has done. But also, that goes hand in hand with being lucky. Ugandans have been patient with him, but time, as I told you, it is going to come when the situation is going to go berserk, and it will to not only affect you, the country may fall onto me, and we may need to build it afresh. Recently, you heard him what he was talking about, especially in security, because we are on the issue of security and UPDF. The sectarian, which he has never commented about in the last 5 years within the army, he ended up commenting about it, how people were deployed in Somalia, favoring some people and what have you. Yet we have been commenting about this, though he may not accept this. at least those who are there, and as a shadow minister within the security, I am aware and I have been hearing about this for quite some time. These are some of the things which end up affecting the army to disintegrate or to form caucuses here and there, and at the end of the day, it may affect the country by fighting one another. You can see what is happening in Sudan. The elite army fighting the regular army. It is not far away from here what may happen here. He has all the time to go back on board and bring the forces together. Of course, you may not accept, you may accept, but the truth is there are some elements of disunity within the army itself.
By the way, I don't know, maybe I missed, I didn't hear the president respond on the issue of the Somali. That was like
not at all.
That was like a massacre.
Not at all, and it is surprising. Even that very issue, we have raised it on the floor of Parliament.
Those Ugandans, yes,
when our forces come, those who were killed, how many are they?
That's an unfortunate incident, perhaps that is expected because when we're at war and they are deployed there. But couldn't he also maybe have talked about this? We are told about over 50 people who died in Somalia.
Yes,
you could even say massacred in Somalia.
I'll comment about Somalia, why the president, or how the president didn't talk about it. But let me try to answer a question that I wish you had asked me. I would have loved to answer that question. You ask Honorable.
Start setting up your question.
Yes, we'll start setting it because it is a nice question. You ask Honorable whether they should not give credit for holding the country together. And I've always said this. Uganda is Uganda. The time that Museveni was a president, many countries died. Yugoslavia collapsed to the extent that at one time there was Serbia and Montenegro who had qualified for World Cup quarterfinal. In the middle, they broke back home into two countries. We even asked them, now suppose you win a World Cup, where will the cup go? Sudan broke into two. They are threatening to break Darfur. Somali, everywhere countries are broken. So it is not for luck, as he says, that Uganda is.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to the wall there to be reading the questions and the comments coming in from the people, and you'll be responding to them. But I want Abdallah, as I move there, to respond that this is not luck, because he has given you examples to show this is not luck. This is something that has been worked on to hold the country together, keep it stable, considering that the kind of region that we are in. It's not by luck.
It's clear. Ideological clarity.
Of course.
Not just luck.
Of course, I can tell you that God has loved Mr. Museveni more than Gaddafi. Much as Gaddafi ruled since 1982 and ended up the way he ended, Saddam Hussein ruled the way Museveni has been ruling, Bashir ruled the way Museveni has been ruling, Mugabe ruled the way Museveni is ruling. Kabila, the way the country is in.
We'll listen to you.
Yes.
I'll be bringing you some questions. I've come here to read questions that are coming in from the people. But let me let Abdallah conclude his.
I'm right to say that God has loved Mr. Museveni in my era ever since I was born, because even me, I was born when Mr. Museveni is. I have grown up seeing Mr. Museveni as the president. And me, I have never seen any other president when I am understanding. So, he has loved him in such a way that people have been tolerant with him, despite the fact that all the reasons which have forced other regimes to go, they are actually worse than here. People have been patient with him. And by that has not learned anything from that. All the things which are happening, which happened to cause the regime change in Sudan, they're already here. Which caused the Mubarak to go, they're already here. Which caused the Gaddafi to go, they're already here. Then in Zimbabwe. So, God has only been patient with him, has loved him, has been lucky. But
okay,
soon...
okay, gentlemen, I'm going to bring you some questions and comments coming in from our viewers who have decided to interact with you. So let me begin with somebody calling himself Open Heart, the blogger. He says, politics of talking. I can now understand why I learned comparative education, not comparing the bad only, but even the good. Believe me, Uganda, we are somewhere in security. And somebody called Susan Sam says he wants what is best for the country, and I know he will fulfill it. Tadese says, Mr. President, you have done so much for this country. Daily Monitor informs us about corruption, inefficiency in government, so you can handle them. Corruption can make this country fail. Actually, we are failing state of schools and hospitals. We need fairness and honesty. You know, those are some of the the views coming in from Ugandans listening tonight. Now, let me pick something from Bukenya. He says, as for in the medical field, we aim at prevention. Museveni waits until the murderers have lost interest in the area and he thinks he has defeated them. Okay, I think Susan says, but he should tell us where those robbers in the city get the guns from, because guns have become guns in the city. Susan is talking about the issue of gun violence in Uganda. Probably, Kiwanuka, can you respond to those?
As I raised it earlier, with the conclusion of Sudanese comment, I think it is high time. It is very unfortunate that these are things which are affecting us, people who are on the ground. The reality is people are being murdered, people are being killed day and night. And the president, unfortunately, apart from talking about ADF, this, what is exactly happening in the day-to-day Uganda, towns and in villages, what happened in Chotera the other day, murdering 2 people, has left it hanging like that. So it does not only call for the president's address only when people have been murdered in groups. Actually, I expected him to have apologized for failing to mourn and pulling the flags half the mast when we lost our children in Kasese, when we lost our forces in Somalia. Totally. It was left hanging like that. He has deliberately failed to comment about what happened in Somalia. What is the status of our forces who were murdered there? Have they been returned? When are the relatives receiving them? And what have you? So you simply see a president who is covering up something to achieve something. He fears to tell Ugandans the true position, the true reality which is on ground as far as the security is concerned, only to cover up. I normally call up Ugandans. As you think that you are paying taxes for security forces to take care of you, please be mindful and take it as a priority to provide your own yourself security, which can make you move for a week, for a month, maybe for a year. But as far as this regime is concerned, the forces which you pay taxes are the very forces which make sure that you vanish or you are killed.
All right, Major Paul, how do you respond to some of these comments? They're not direct questions to you, but Ugandans are trying to say something.
And they are not direct questions to me, not by accident. They are not direct questions to me because they agree with what I'm saying. And that is why you see the first 3 questions when appreciating what government is doing. And therefore, it means we are meeting the aspirations of the people. Article 1 of the Constitution says power belongs to the people. And we know that. Why you see people in Uganda don't behave the way others behave in other countries, it's not because the army has deployed tanks on the street. No, it's because the people know what they want.
You go and see square, constitutional square, and see what is there.
They know how to vent their views in all medias, like you are venting now. If you talk here, I do not see why you'd want to talk on the street. Countries where people are going on the street are countries where people cannot vent their feelings.
So let me...
Here people are free. And that is why even when Article 1 says power belongs to the people, people use it judiciously in a free and fair election.
In his speech, the president says he's going to deploy Elizabeth Kutesa to go and investigate what could have gone wrong. This happened almost a month ago. We actually expected by now to be him reading the report of the investigation.
Actually, also in Somalia, he said that they are investigating. Very soon he's going to come up with a report. In the opening remarks, actually, I expected to first read for us what exactly happened in Somalia before he goes on to the issue which has happened last.
Okay. No, let me answer this. Well, I can see you're looking at your watch. First of all, the Somali. The president has over time addressed the Somali issue. So I did not expect myself for him to have brought it here again. Today, the address was more,
back the Kid issue.
The address more here was more in relation to Congo and the geographical security. Okay? Now, about Kutesa, President gets briefing, security briefing every day. Of course, he has reports about this incident. But the deployment of Kutesa is to further strengthen and find it from another version. You don't expect the president up to now not to have got a report. About what? About this?
Are you trying to say that he's going to come back to brief us about the internal security, what is happening in the Greater Massacre, these matters which are gone? So he's going to come back for another another briefing.
Okay, gentlemen, our time is out. Let me ask you, Honorable Abdallah, to give us your concluding remark tonight.
As usual, of course, time is always the limiting factor. I only call upon Ugandans, as you pay taxes, to question and ask big questions what your taxes do. The primary issue, you cannot make business, you cannot make money when there is insecurity in the country. We must ask big questions to the president. Not just talking about what is happening in Congo and the ADF. When are they returning? Is it an endless deployment? Or when are our forces concluding the assignment in Central African Republic? We need them here to provide security because we are the ones who are paying them.
Thank you very much, Major Pollar. Your parting shot.
My parting shot to Ugandans is that we have the army called the Uganda People's Defense Forces. It's a people army. It's your army. They have strong regulations that guard excesses. Whichever happens, it is punishable. But take it from me and from government that this army is yours, it's a people's army, with other subsidiary security. Please rest assured that in the hand of the Commander-in-Chief, President Museveni, you are safe and you will enjoy your peace and tranquility as you have been enjoying.
Major Pollar Awich, thank you so much for your time. Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, thank you so much, gentlemen, for having been on this spot this evening. But most of all, you, the viewer, want to thank you for the privilege of your company. I believe Uganda, we're a good country and we're good people. And sometimes we meet some challenges, but these some challenges are not insurmountable. I believe also that the UPDF is a serious public institution with still fighting capacity because they've been able to hold this country for some time. I still believe they have it in them to continue. Good night. And God bless you, Uganda.